Love Deconstruction, a poem by Jubal. Why don't we love? The reason why we don't love is because we choose not to. Why do we not choose love? Because of what we believe. If we choose to obey another law, impulse, feeling, or whim, it's because deep down we think more highly of it, respect it, sense that it's more valid and important to us. If we haven't been loved well by others, we think that love couldn't really be that important, or others would have found us important enough to love. And since they don't, we feel that if we are not valid and worth it, others aren't either. And they're not worth our effort or time, just like we are not. We want love, we all do. We don't believe the effort is worth it because we have not been worth it to others to love better than they have. So why should we? Thus, we are skeptical and doubtful about the outcome or even trying because of the failing before to love better than we do, and others not loving us so very well also. God commands us to love, but that's too abstract and gray a concept to us. We need to see to believe. We need to see results. Just like faith. This is not love or faith at all. Faith working by love or love working by faith. We choose to disobey the love command because we don't believe it will have any lasting or helpful consequences. The same way we disobey the command to not sin. Self-love always has a backup plan to love itself better if others aren't forthcoming and giving their love. Self-protection from hurt and letdown when people fail us. Oh, this is the deconstruction of what love is not. We truly believe in this self-protection program we have adopted to cope with the lack of love we get. It's sort of like welfare. It's when we lose our jobs and financial support. It's a state-of-the-heart program we run to draw from when we come up empty with people. A way out of emptiness we feel to fill the void of not being really liked and received the way we need to be. We don't believe in love because subconsciously we know everyone else must be like us and have a similar plan of backup in case we let them down, to fall back on themselves. So we reason they fully don't care or want our love and concern. And this creates in us a hardness and coldness, an aloofness and apathy to even try. To give and receive love requires abandoning and giving up this plan of self-insulation to shield us from wounding and disappointment. It demands a willingness to believe in love so much that we willingly give up our program for honesty and transparency. And the toughest part of all for most of us, vulnerability. To believe we are loved by God so much that we fall back into His arms in trust that His love is greater than the fear of pain that keeps us from loving freely and unfettered. To trust God out of obedience to keep on loving no matter what the cost. Then to also begin doing the same with people regardless of the consequences. Not just to show God we are willing to suffer, but to show our love back to Him for His love by loving what He loves most, and that's hurting, fearful people. What He desires for us is that we so believe that His love never fails, that we will boldly step out in faith and by action to prove to Him we have come to know in our hearts that His love in us is greater than all the fear and hurt in people. We must first seek God to snuff out the fear of hurt and letdown in us to begin to perfect love towards others, and from us towards Him first and then to people. This slow faith and love process will in time cast out all the fear that keeps us from letting out the love God shed abroad already in our hearts. As Adam and Eve covered up with fig leaves after sinning out of fear of being seen naked, so we too cover up our vulnerable heart so as not to be seen for how unloved we are and feel. This self-protecting covering is rooted in pride and fear and self-sufficiency to not be found out for how much we need to show unbridled love, as well as to receive it freely and gladly. We are so afraid of making such a giant investment into the bank account that doesn't guarantee us an equal or greater return on our dividends. We want to know up front what our percentages are for our giving instead of by faith in love without certainty. Just trusting God. The returns, believing God always wins without our kind of proof first. Jesus proved that love and its willingness to be completely, fully vulnerable is the way this is done. He stepped out of the safety of heaven into an evil, sin-soaked world, trusting the Father. He continued to love, teach, heal, and do good when hated to violence throughout his entire ministry. Then he obeyed love to the bitter end by going all the way to the cross and not calling out for God to protect him or command angels to avenge him. He only served without being served to show his complete and utter dependence on God by only doing and saying what he saw and heard of the Father, instead of living out of his own self-protecting, promoting will. He was dead before the cross. The only thing he ever struggled with was his will. He learned obedience through suffering, as we all must, to truly love and to die to self-protection and promotion, that he might come alive to bring fully, like God, who protects and promotes the other. We must obey love's command by disobeying ourselves. Romans tells us that we are slaves to whom we obey, servants to whom we yield our members to serve. In the Good Samaritan storyline, we find a man who goes completely out of his way to love his neighbor. Jesus said to go and do as he did, to our own hurt as he did. To his own hurt, he died for us, Jesus did, so most of us can come to see that so must we.